Hello, everyone. Welcome to Friends and Neighbors. I'm your co-host today, Sandra O'Neill, with my wonderful friend, Sherry Tatum. It's always such a joy to do this program with you.
Are you my wonderful friend? Oh, my gosh.
I know. We haven't seen each other
You
in a
know
little
what?
bit.
And I think we've got another wonderful friend.
You know,
You know?
we're going to be talking about how God can bring you out from poverty, from pain. You know, if you are at a place that you're struggling, you serve a big God,
Amen.
God who knows you from beginning to end. So we have another wonderful friend with us who wrote a book called Trailer Park CEO, 12 Leadership Cornerstones to Becoming a Godly Woman of Influence. And I'm so happy she's here. Dawn Cazedessus is here. Yay!
We said it, Cazedessus, we did it.
We've been chatting and talking and laughing, and I love your personality. Thank you for joining us today.
It is such an honor to be here with both of you.
Yeah.
It's so good.
Well, so talk to us about your book and how God brought you out. I know we were talking about from a trailer park to the C-suite, which I had to ask you what that meant.
It's all good.
Oh, my goodness.
Well, now, I want to know, did you live in a trailer park?
You know, it's so funny you ask that. So many times when people see Trailer Park CEO, they're like, so you own trailer parks?
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh, no, I'm from the trailer park.
Okay, so tell us about the trailer park.
Big difference.
Well, you know, I really have to let you know how I got into the trailer park because, you know, it's a very interesting journey. So my mom was actually 15 years old when she became pregnant for me. She was in 11th grade, had to drop out of high school because of becoming pregnant with me. And my dad was just, 18 years old, but he had dropped out of school in 8th grade. And so we were that statistic that says that teenage pregnancies end in poverty. And so really that's how we ended up there. And so there we go into the trailer park. And that is where I grew up all the way until I tell people I got into that car and I was the first one to leave the trailer park and actually went to college. And so I remember, looking in that rearview mirror of behind me and being like, wow, this is such a big thing, not just for me, but for my family.
You know, that's really interesting because the Bible tells us about generational curses, right?
Yeah.
And when you were just talking about looking in the rearview mirror, you broke that. You broke that.
Thank you for saying that because that has, I say though that I physically left that day, but I didn't mentally.
Yeah.
It took me many years to mentally leave the trailer park because of those generational curses.
Yeah.
Sometimes physically we can move ourselves out of a situation, but it could take years before our mind and our mindset actually understands what we're needing to do and where we need to go. And honestly, it was the Lord. He came into my life and was like, it is time to renew your mind. It's got to be transformed in order for, just like the butterfly becomes the butterfly and can never go back to being the caterpillar. I had to not just physically leave that environment, but I needed to mentally leave it as well.
But when you were young and growing up, especially like a teenager, did you say, I'm going to get out of this. I'm going to do better. I'm determined.
Yes.
Because I lived in a trailer myself, and I said, I will overcome. I'll do better than this. But you've got to have a lot of strong faith. You got to have some grit about you, some stand up, some backbone, and you got to make clear with God, all things are possible. And I knew that if I had the Lord with me, and I know you probably did too, that you could come and make something of yourself. And that's so important, I think, nowadays, too.
I agree. And I have to give credit to there were some high school teachers. There were some youth group leaders. There were people that were in my life that were showing me a different world. Because see, the reason I wanted to leave that trailer park, because I do know that there's some good trailer parks out there. I know that there's some people that may be watching and they're like, but I live in a great trailer park. I love my community. That is awesome. That is not the trailer park I was in. The trailer park I was in there was abuse. There were addictions. There was
drinking, a lot of drinking.
Lots of those kind of things, just to get through. And I knew that when I was in there that I didn't want, and there was a lot of hurt. Let me just say that. There was a lot of pain. And so I knew that I did not want that life.
That's what I said. I don't want that.
I don't want it. I don't want it. And I knew that in order to change, I had to get out.
And at such a young age that you learned that. at such a young age.
What's a God thing?
Yes. So talk to us about that. Yeah.
So I write about this in my book is that, you know, I lived in an abusive home as well. So not just the trailer park, but the home. And my escape was just the woods right outside. We lived up in the rural area of South Louisiana, and I would leave that trailer and go into the woods, and these trails would be in there. And I would pick up these stones, just like kids love to collect things, you know, collect these rocks.
Yes.
And just like I would, you know, line my path and just put these rocks down. And every time it was an opportunity for me to think about what was possible, that I could walk and I could physically walk away from harm and get out there. And the Lord just met me on those trails. That's why I love to be a trail runner to this day. He just met me there because there was a lot of chaos and noise.
Yeah.
You know, sometimes we have this in our life, you know, right? Chaos, the noise, it's busyness comes up. And when I would go out into the woods, that's where he met me. And that's where silence was. And that's where he would speak into me, because I didn't know him like I know him today.
Sure.
I didn't really, I knew about God, but I didn't know about a relationship with him. I didn't understand that he was a loving father. I couldn't even begin to understand that. But he was whispering, he was showing. And he is the one that kept carving in my heart and kept saying, you were made for more. Because, you know, you can imagine as a product of a teenage pregnancy, there's a lot of stories we can tell ourselves. But there's also a lot of stories that other people tell us. A lot of labels that people like to put on us, right? And so he was the one that was whispering to me and being like, you are made more than that. You are more than that teenage pregnancy. You were not a mistake.
That's right.
Yeah, well, you and I could be sisters.
I'm telling you. I'm loving it.
I'm telling you, you sound so. My mother was 17, just had turned 17. She had me, went on married 4 times, 3 stepfathers, the whole gamut. The fighting, the divorces, the trailer parks, you know, the whole thing. But somewhere, because I believe God said that he knew us before the foundations of the world. Somewhere in here, it'll be all right. You can do this. You can be better. You can get out of this and start a better life. And I feel like that's where you were, and that somehow you knew you had a purpose.
Yeah, you know, didn't know what it was.
Yeah, me too.
Time,
I didn't
right?
either.
You don't know, but there's this yearning.
Yeah.
There's this.
He's preparing the way. He's preparing the way. It reminds me again, it's like you have to put your foot in the water, like what Moses did for the water to part. It's that step of faith.
There is an action.
There's an action. And I love that, because your book talks 12 leadership cornerstones, and that makes me wonder, are these the 12 stones that he was preparing you for?
Yes. You know, so often we look back in our lives and we can see some of the pain and the hurt as negative.
Yeah.
And what he kept showing me is like, Dawn, good is coming out of those things. Romans 8:28.
Yes.
Good is coming for this. And so when I, as I often do, usually this, you know, time of the year, reflecting over the past year, looking at the new year, and being able to sit down and say, okay, here are the things that have happened. In the moment, I thought they were bad, but here's the blessing that came out of it. Yeah. And so the more I had of that, my faith grew. Because I saw that God was always present, that there could have been more harm, or there could have been other things that happened, but he was always there. I just had to raise up my hand and grab his.
Yeah, absolutely.
Right, for that guidance.
It's that action.
You know, well, we think a lot of times it's a setback. You know, this trouble, that's another setback. But actually, God has a set up. He's setting you up.
Yes.
Because you will come out of that, I think, more knowledgeable. You'll find a way you did not know. You'll find a blessing that is just, you know, more than you can contain.
That's right.
Because God said, I'll never leave you nor forsake you. And Jeremiah 29:11 assures us of that, for I know the plans I have for you.
That's right.
And I truly believe that since he knew us before the foundations of the world, that there is a purpose for us, and it can be, and he has a season for us, and it might be for a year or two, or it might be a lifetime. With you, it seems like it's a lifetime.
Yes.
And you also write in your book that, you know, anybody can be a leader, right?
That's right.
But there are people that are great leaders and people that not so good. So what qualities does your book talk about the leadership?
You know, most people think that leadership is a position.
Okay.
And so this is what I talk about in my book, is that it's not about a title. Yes, I have a title. Yes, I have a position. It is about a lifestyle, though. And we're called to be kingdom builders.
Yes.
That's what our purpose is.
That is.
That's the calling, right? Is to be a kingdom builder. And so when I looked at that and I was, you know, coming into my faith, growing stronger in my faith, and I was like, okay, if I am supposed to be a kingdom builder, that means I have to lead.
Yes, yes.
I have to take action. And so, you know, John Maxwell says it the best. He says, leadership is nothing but influence. And that's why I say anybody can be a leader, because we all have influence.
Oh my goodness.
In one
That's
place
right.
or another.
And we've
I
got to
think,
use
don't
it
you?
with
Gotta
that
use it.
godly focus, right?
Yes.
And I love that, because then you have to also disciple. You have to be intentional. You talk about intentional discipleship. And a lot of people are missing that because you're wanting, why do you think people are missing
I
that?
think, you know, I think a lot of people today, we're lonely. We know that even with social media and all the different resources that we have to connect with people, that even though people are connecting, they're still lonely. And loneliness leads to isolation. And isolation is where the enemy he wants to keep us in isolation. He wants to keep us not connecting. And as kingdom builders, we're responsible for developing and discipling, not just for the other person. That's why it says iron sharpens iron.
Yes, yes.
That's for me too.
Yes.
And so when I am discipling others, when I get to do things like this and sit with friends and talk and chat, it's great conversation, but I'm also growing.
Right.
I'm also being transformed into those conversations as well. So that's why we are called to do these things.
Absolutely.
You know, I can't believe this, but we're coming up on a break.
I know.
Always.
Every
But
time.
I love that we're kind of digging in there and talking about the intentionality of our faith, because I want to loop back into that when we get back from this commercial break. So take a moment, take a sip of water, tea,
Go get
coffee.
a cup of coffee. Go get a cup of coffee.
We were
Cup of
talking
Joe.
about that.
Go get a cup of
And
Joe.
come back and join us as we talk further with Dawn.
Amen. Be right back. Well, welcome back to Friends and Neighbors, and we're going to just jump back in with our interview with Dawn and her book. Let me see her book.
Yes.
I want you to see the cover.
It's so good.
It's very beautiful. It's
Yes.
very well done. I love this book, Dawn. Thank you for having it. But let me ask you, I want to start this out because I want to know what relentless encouragement is. What is relentless encouragement?
Well, you know, if we think about it, we're all seeking encouragement in our life. Those are those affirmations of saying, like, hey, job well done.
Yep.
Yeah.
You know, like you've done good things, right?
Right.
So relentless encouragement is the reason that, one, I think it's a spiritual gift for me, is that I love to give encouragement to others, but also recognized, especially in my world, there was a lot of people who did not offer it. Especially when you're in poverty, it's a scarcity mindset, meaning that most of the time you're always approaching things with negativity. You're always looking at things like through a glass half empty, because that is your life. Like you're struggling, trying to pay the bills. You're trying to like I'm just trying
do
to
it
get
all
the things,
Yeah.
right? And what I realized is that we're all going through something in our life, and we all have a story. And if we could just meet people where they are and encourage them, give them grace.
Yes.
Grace.
Let them know, like, because look, you're going through something right now. I may be going through something in the near future, and I'm gonna need this encouragement from you too. That's why I talk about optimism in my book is not just a glass half full.
Right.
Yeah.
See, most people say, you know, glass half full, glass half empty, right? That I reframed optimism as a glass that is overflowing, because that's relentless encouragement. When my glass is overflowing, that is abundance. That is Ephesians 3:20,
Yes.
immeasurably more than we could ever imagine. That is the overflow that is not of me, but is of Him.
Yes.
And when that overflows, I can loan it to other people. I can come alongside other people and say, hey, you're going through a rough time. Let me give you some encouragement. Let me give you some hope.
Okay.
That's
Well,
there.
let me ask you this. How did you come about to write, and why did you write it, title it Trailer Park CEO?
Yeah.
And I mean, did the Lord just speak to you in the middle of the night and say, Dawn, write this book? I mean, had you written a book before?
No,
Or how did it come about?
I love that you asked this question, because I get to share also how I've been disobedient.
Oh, haven't we all?
Right?
Yeah.
So the Lord,
Yeah.
the
I'm
Lord
sorry.
did call me and showed me and spoke to me and said, you need to write your story. But because there were shackles on me of shame, embarrassment, you know, to write a book, you have to become authentic. Well, you have to be
Vulnerable.
authentic. You would hope, but vulnerable as well. And so I tell people this was a 10-year passion project.
Oh, wow.
That's a nice way of saying it was 10 years of me being disobedient.
Yeah.
Because God had called me to write it, and so I would write. I'm a huge journaler, so I have all of these things written down for years. And He kept saying, "You need to put it out there. You need to. It's a gift. I need people. They'll know me. They'll be able to know me through your story." And finally, I was speaking. I was a keynote speaker for an event at Southeastern Louisiana University in Hammond, Louisiana, and in the audience was a young lady that heard me speak, and she sent me a DM that night and said, "Have you ever thought of writing a book?" I was like,
Oh, shut up. Yeah.
I was like, well,
I've been thinking
a
about it
little
for a
bit,
while.
just for a little bit. And she said, "Will you just meet me for coffee? I'm a literary agent. I work with people to be able to put their story together." And honestly, it was her encouragement. She was like, "You need to write this book." And we spent a lot of hours working on this. And when it came down to the title, it was really like, Dawn, your story is that you're from the trailer park and you went to the C-suite, to the CEO. That's your
How do
title.
you do it?
I
Yeah.
love that. You know, and that's what we're talking about when you withhold encouragement. We're talking about this backstage before we got here.
Yeah.
But when you withhold encouragement because you feel like for whatever thing that you're going through, you're really missing out on God's best for you and for that person. So it's so important to continue to get filled so then you can overflow. Now, you mentioned, how do you do that on a day-to-day basis? I mean, how do you not run out of water so then your cup won't? How do you
cup
do that?
runs
You know?
Well,
Empty.
as humans, it will.
Yes.
We're flesh.
Right.
We're not capable of keeping this up. And so this is why it's super important for me to start my day a certain way and end my day a certain way. But really, it's the start. Yeah. It's that morning routine. It is that time with the Lord that is non-negotiable. It is my quiet time. And yes, sometimes I'm digging into the Word and studying, and He's feeding me. But other times He's like, just hold that cup of coffee and sit, baby girl.
Yeah.
Like, you just need to be quiet.
Leave me alone for a few minutes.
Day to day.
Every morning, Sandra, because if I don't start, we've all flown on an airplane, and it says, when you're on the airplane, they go through their safety measures.
Yes.
If the oxygen mask falls, you put it on yourself before anyone else. That's my oxygen mask to Him. If I don't do that every single morning, I will not be equipped or have the ability to tackle whatever the enemy has for us out there, but also that world, and even worse, my own flesh.
Yes.
And so when I am plugged into Him, I'm recharged, and now I am prepared. I know challenges are coming as soon as I walk out that door.
Yeah.
And then I reframe and say, but I get to tackle those challenges because I'm not alone. I'm with Him.
Okay.
I'm not doing it by myself.
Yeah, absolutely.
I've got Him.
Absolutely. Well, let me ask you this, because we've all had the failures.
Yes. Yes.
I'll be the first to raise the hand. Yeah, I've had the failures. But in your book, you're telling people how to reframe
those failures. Yes.
And discipline. Can you give us a little hint on that? How do you reframe failure?
I think failing moments in our life is what's held most of us back from our greatness, and quite honestly, for what God has already planned for us. He's already got this great plan, but because we fail, we stumble, we think we're not worthy of it anymore. And that's not what God says. Matter of fact, when you read the Bible, it's a bunch of failures.
Yes, it is. Yeah, you're right.
It's a bunch of people who failed, but they learned how to fail forward. And it held me back for so long in my life that I couldn't, it was like to a point where I couldn't put one foot in front of the other. And so I finally sat back and I was like, okay, how do I overcome this? And God kept speaking to me. I love to go on sabbaticals. That's just where I go into prayer and fasting. And he kept speaking these things into me. I'm like, but Lord, I failed. How are you going to use this?
Yeah.
I'm not going to be good enough for that. And so I reframed it. And actually, if I have time, I'd love to share an acronym.
Yes.
I have now taken the word fail, and I said, okay, how do I reframe that in the moment? Like I'm in a failing moment. How do I stop and use it for good? Well, I take the letter F of fail, and I say forgive. I have to forgive myself.
Yeah.
I have to give myself grace.
Yes.
I'm not perfect. None of us are. So why am I giving myself such a hard time on this, right? So forgive. Then I have to accept it. See, a lot of us like to blame other people, sweep it under the rug, which becomes a tripping hazard. You know,
we have to own it.
We have to own it.
Yeah.
So accept that it happened. Now the I in the word fail is the hardest one for me because it's inspect. And the reason it's hard because when you inspect something, you have to relive it. And who wants to relive that, right?
That's right.
But if I don't inspect it, I'm going to have a pattern in my life that keeps going. Matter of fact, we've all done it where you've done the same thing. You're like, why do I keep doing that? You have a girlfriend that comes over and tells you things. You're like, why are you still doing that? Like, you see it? Well, these are patterns. Well, if we don't inspect it, we don't learn these patterns, and we can't learn from it. And that's the L. We will keep doing it.
Yeah.
So you fail forward because now I've learned from it. Okay, now I know. I was hangry, very hungry when that happened. I didn't have enough sleep. I was in too much chaos. I was too busy. I was listening to unwise counsel. See, all of those things cause those stumbling moments.
And that gives you clarity. It gives you the discernment. And then we all make choices that are away from what God wants us to do. But he brings us back like he met you at that trail when you didn't know. He introduced himself to you.
Yes.
And he gave you those 12 stones, and then you've used this to make a remarkable book, The 12 Leadership Cornerstones. And I would love, I can't believe we're running out of time, but I would love to maybe next time dig deep into what does it mean? What does a good leader look like? What do they have? I mean, I'm sure
What do they have that I don't have?
You know what I mean? I would love to. So if you would love to come back, because I think we're running out of time. We have to go back to another commercial break. But if people want to get a hold of you, how can they reach you? I'm sure through social media.
Oh yes, and I love all of my followers on, the Instagrams, the Facebooks, all the social media. But also they can go to my website, and it's trailerparkceobook.com, trailerparkceobook.com, and they'll learn more.
Awesome.
Is there another one in the future?
Yes.
Well, you're going to have to come back. We would love to chat more with you about and dig deep into your book. Thank you for what you're doing.
This is it. It's beautiful.
Yes.
I mean, that's a good book. That's a good looking
I love the hardcover, everything. So we are going to go on a quick commercial break. We want to thank Dawn again for being our guest on this episode of Friends and Neighbors. But you go get a little break, coffee, tea, and come back and join us for...
Go to the restroom. Yeah.
We're just giving you a bunch of things to do. We'll see you shortly.
We'll be right back. Well, welcome back to Friends and Neighbors. And you know what? Listening to Dawn and where she was in the trailer park and come up to be a CEO, an entrepreneur, a speaker, wrote a book, I mean, she wears many hats. But in the book, I'm sure she's going to talk about commitment. You have to be committed. You have to have dedication, and you have to have that want to do better.
Yes.
To make something more of yourself. or you can just be complacent and live, you know, without much care, without much responsibility and all that. And you'll live, but you don't fulfill that destiny, I don't think, that God has for you. That's why you have to prioritize, I think, your faith.
Yes, I think that's what really hit me when, I mean, she said so many wonderful things, failing forward. I'm going to use that for my 13-year-old and for me. I love that, failing forward, but also your daily habits of meeting with the Lord first thing in the morning.
A schedule of it.
Yes, because that equips you. And, you know, we've all heard that before, but, I mean, just to have that discipline to do that because you don't know what's ahead. And He will fill your cup. He'll fill your cup with encouragement, kindness, integrity, all of the things that you need to live a life that glorifies God to the fullest and the people around you.
And you can reach your destiny.
Yes, that's right.
Because God has a destiny, I believe, for each one of us. But you have to seek His face, you have to know the Word, and you have to prioritize your faith.
That's right.
It has to be firm. God has to be first.
That's right. That's
Absolutely.
Right. Well, thank you so much for joining us on this episode of Friends and Neighbors. I hope you learned and were encouraged. I know I was.
Me too.
And get connected with Dawn, get her book. It will bless you like it blessed us in this interview. We'll see you next time in Friends and Neighbors.
God bless.